Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Inquisition Update. My name's Tom Fress. I'll be your host for the next hour. You're listening to FirstAmendmentRadio.com. Praise God for First Amendment Radio and Inquisition Updates. My pleasure to be here, and I'm thankful you've taken the time out of your busy schedules to listen this morning. We're continuing our reading discussion of the book Codeword Barbelon, Book 2 of the series. There's a 2-book series called Codeword Barbelon. The subtitle of this second book of the series is entitled Antichrist is a Woman, Alive and Well Again. It's my pleasure to read and discuss this book for my listeners and to encourage each and every one of you to get a copy of this book if you can swing it and read it for yourselves. Keep it for reference. Share it with friends and family. Make it a matter of discussion and study and research of your own. It explains the Vatican Jesuit-led New World Order in terms that cannot be refuted, in terms that the average intellect can perfectly understand. And it's a slam dunk. Codeword Barbelon is the best value today, in my opinion, for gaining the knowledge necessary to understand what's happening in this world today. The Vatican Jesuit-led New World Order. Now, we were discussing the portion of the chapter dealing with the true colors of the Roman Catholic Church in reference to the Bible, which states that this beast system, this woman who rides the bloody beast, the bloody scarlet beast of Revelation chapter 17, is none other than the Roman Catholic Church. She's decked in scarlet and purple. Those are her colors. Very important we understand this. Scarlet and purple, gold, silver, and precious stones, and anybody who's familiar with the wealth of the Vatican certainly understands that application, and also the golden cup in her hand. That's the Eucharistic cup, full of the abominations of the filthiness of her fornication. The Bible speaks specifically of none other than the Roman Catholic Church. And we're not Catholic bashers here. We're realists, and we're Bible believers. And this is the truth borne out in the Scripture. It's the truth that's borne out in history. And it's beyond refutation. Now, if you're following along in the book, page 129, I will begin in the last paragraph for continuity. It says, we've been speaking again about the scarlet and purple of the cardinals and the bishops and the popes. Those are their colors. They demonstrate them everywhere they go. And it says, on October 31st, 1999, at the signing of the Joint Declaration on Justification by Faith, and I won't depart too much, but I do want to comment that Richard Bennett is the go-to guy for your reading and understanding of what this Joint Declaration on Justification by Faith was. Richard Bennett, again, a longtime Roman Catholic priest, converted to Christ. He speaks Pope speak. He understands Pope speak. And he can read these joint declarations and papal encyclicals and all these papal bulls and interpret for you in language that you can understand what they mean. And Richard Bennett has written a complete dissertation on the Joint Declaration on Justification by Faith. You can read his dissertation on his website at BereanBeacon.org. And you'll find a link to that, Berean Beacon, at the bottom of my website, the opening page of my website, InquisitionUpdate.org. So I hope not to confuse anybody, but you can go to my website, InquisitionUpdate.org, and scroll to the bottom of the page, and you'll see a link to Berean Beacon. And simply click on that link. It'll take you directly to BereanBeacon.org, and look down through the list of documents that he has for the Joint Declaration on the Justification by Faith, and you can read that yourself. Very important document, and if I was better at a computer, I would add that to my website so you could read it directly on my website. But I'm slow at picking up this computer stuff and web pages. But anyhow, now it says in October 31st, and what is that? That's Reformation Day. October 31st was the day that Martin Luther tacked up his 95 Theses on the Wittenberg church door. The official kickoff, the official start, recognized by historians almost universally as the birthday of the Protestant Reformation. When the priests of Rome, the monks, Martin Luther was a Roman Catholic monk, they abandoned the Roman Catholic Church after reading the Scriptures for themselves and realizing from the Scriptures that their Pope and their church was the biblical Antichrist, was that which is spoken of in Revelation 17. And they came out. Reformation Day, October 31st, 1517. Now today it's called Halloween. It's been reduced to a satanic festival. But the Papacy and the Lutheran Church, that church which is named for Martin Luther, the official, quote-unquote, father of the Protestant Reformation, many would like to say, chose that date, October 31st, to sign this joint declaration on the justification by faith. And what was that? What was the Pope hoping to achieve by picking that day? Well, you and I as Protestants understand that faith is bequeathed to us. Faith is a gift. Okay? Faith is it's granted to us. The accounting term is it's attributed to us. But the Roman Catholic Church says that grace is infused. It's an entirely different teaching than Martin Luther had. Infused grace, as taught by the Roman Catholic Church and as acknowledged in this joint declaration of justification by faith, is simply just another way to sell the works gospel. It's a false gospel. The Protestant Reformation was born on the idea that faith is not earned. It is a gift freely given to those who are undeserving, to those who have given their lives over to Christ and accepted Him as their propitiation. Grace is attributed to them. And the Roman Catholic Church in the Council of Trent damned anyone who believes such a thing. In the Roman Catholic Church, grace and faith must be earned. And by simply using the term infused grace, they achieved the very keyhole, the very ace in the hole, the very nucleus of the Protestant Reformation. In that alone, they destroyed the doctrine of faith by grace alone and made it into a gospel of works. That's what was achieved by the Papacy on the anniversary of the Protestant Reformation that was literally born out of a biblical understanding of faith. Very, very clever, very, very crafty. And it is amazing to me that the Lutheran Church World Federation bought it. But that's the ecumenical movement. They've come up to a reprobate mind. And they have in this act, this signing of the justification of faith, the joint declaration on justification by faith with the Roman Catholic Church, they just single-handedly repudiated the Protestant Reformation. In signing that document, they literally said Martin Luther was wrong, so were all the Protestant reformers. We're going back to Mother Church. And that's exactly what happened. And in a sign, a demonstrable sign of this capitulation to Rome, while the priests, the cardinals, and the bishops at the signing wore their scarlet and purple robes, designating their priestly authority, the Protestant Lutherans wore black, the color of penitence and capitulation and subservience and obedience. It was a ghastly event, and it's hardly recognized in the Protestant world for what it really was, a complete repudiation of the Protestant reformers. But here this was, the whore church, the Mother Church of Rome, demonstrating during that diabolical signing their scarlet and purple robes, their true colors. And it says further, dressed in scarlet red was Cardinal Edward Cassidy, president of the Pontifical Council for Promoting Christian Unity. Oh, yes, we just must have Christian unity. But nobody bothers to tell you it's unity with the Church of Rome. Nobody bothers to tell you it's peace and unity with the synagogue of Satan. Nobody bothers to tell us that it is peace and unity with the biblical and historical Antichrist. The ecumenical movement is the greatest deception since the Garden of Eden. It is the modern-day repudiation of Christ. It should be renounced by anyone having anything remotely to do with it, and a return to biblical Christianity, Protestantism, and declaiming the Roman Catholic Church to be what it is, to restore the knowledge that was universally held by the Protestant reformers. The book continues. Bishop Walter Casper, Secretary, Pontifical Council for Promoting Christian Unity, was also wearing purple. Whereas, listen to this, the leaders of the Lutheran Church were in black. For example, Reverend Christian Krause, the Lutheran World Federation president, who was seen in the photograph given in this book on the left at the signing table in the picture at the website given. And this author, again, gives us the website. You can copy it down and click on it and see these pictures online for yourself. He's very thorough in his documentation. He backs up everything with visual evidence. And a caption under this picture says, October 31st, 1999, signing of the Joint Declaration on Justification by Faith between the Roman Catholic and the LWF, the Lutheran World Federation Churches in Augsburg, Germany. Dressed in scarlet is Cardinal Edward Cassidy, president of the Pontifical Council for Promoting Christian Unity. On the right, wearing purple, is Bishop Walter Casper, secretary, Pontifical Council for Promoting Christian Unity. Seated on the left in black is Reverend Christian Krause, the Lutheran World Federation president. A Christ denier. A Protestant Reformation denier, a Martin Luther denier, and yet he calls himself the president of the Lutheran Church. It's enough to make the hair stand on the back of your head if you understand what's really taking place here. Now, the author continues. He says it's sheer coincidence that he asks the question, rather, is it sheer coincidence that on March 12th, of the year 2000, at the Papal Apology Mass, as it was called, that Pope John Paul II was dressed in purple when he officiated, and that the other members of the Catholic priesthood also wore various shades of violet or purple during the Catholic Festival of Lent? Or that on Sunday, March 26, 2000, when Pope John Paul II celebrated the Mass of the Basilica of the Resurrection in Jerusalem, he was dressed in purple Lenten robe and a mitre trimmed with scarlet red? Is this all just coincidence? Or is this a fulfillment of Bible prophecy, as we assert here at Inquisition Update? More pictures of scarlet and purple, popes, bishops, cardinals, as if to boast to the whole world that she is the one spoken of in Revelation 17, dressed in scarlet and purple. And it says in the above photos, there are 3. Priests are wearing red, archbishops and bishops in purple, and cardinals in scarlet. Purple is frequently worn on Advent, Lent, and at funerals. And the author continues, he says, in case you're tempted to think that this amazing color coordination is just coincidence, we are told by the Catholic Church that it is not. These are the official colors of the Catholic clergy. The Roman Catholic Encyclopedia confirms this. Under the term Kappa Magna, here's what it says. A Kappa Magna, quote, is a cloak with a long train and a hooded shouldered cape, purple wool for bishops. For cardinals, it was scarlet watered silk. For Advent, Lent, Good Friday, and the conclave, purple wool. And rose-watered silk for Gaudet and Later Sundays. Now, I may be mispronouncing these. These terms are new for me. But nonetheless, and it says, and for the Pope, it was red velvet for Christmas matins, red serge at other times, unquote. Now, remember, this is the Roman Catholic Encyclopedia. Now, under the term cassock, it says the close-fitting ankle-length robe worn by the Catholic clergy as their official garb. The color for the bishops and other prelates is purple. For cardinals, scarlet, unquote. Directly from the Roman Catholic Encyclopedia. Now, on March 12, 2000, during the Papal Apology Mass, the Pope and other members of the Roman Catholic priesthood wore various shades of violet and purple, and because it also occurred during the Catholic festival of Lent, when the penitential color of purple is traditionally worn. And here's a sign of an aged, doddering old Pope John Paul II wearing his purple robe with the golden cup in his hand. The caption says, Pope John Paul II in his scarlet robe holds, quote, a golden cup, unquote, during the Papal Apology Mass of March 12, 2000. See more photos at the Franciscan Cyberspot, and then it gives a reference, an internet web address that you can copy and paste and look and see for yourself. Now, P.D. Stewart continues. He says, reader, quote, scarlet is everywhere in this scarlet-colored church. Scarlet bands, scarlet cardinal hats, scarlet robes for the pontiff and the priests. Altogether, Rome has 5 different articles of dress of scarlet colors, unquote. And he gives this coming directly from Herbert Lockyer in his work called All the Women of the Bible, produced by Zondervan. And by the way, I don't specifically give all of the citations and references that this author gives. He gives citations copiously, almost to the point of absurdity. I mean, that's how careful he is to document everything that he says here, to substantiate all of his claims. And on the next page is a photograph that's very familiar to me. It was obviously taken at the Al Smith Memorial Dinner just prior to the election of Barack Obama. And this is a charitable dinner, a charity dinner, sponsored by the Roman Catholic Church. It's a money-making son of a gun for the Roman Catholic Church, and it's also the time, many suspect, that the most powerful cardinals in this country give their clandestine nod to whichever of the two candidates that they choose for president. Now, I know people are going to roll their eyes and think, oh, man, you're telling me the Cardinals pick the president. Yep, that's what I'm telling you. That's what I'm telling you. Look, as long as I'm blowing people's minds, I'm going to tell you something else. The Pope of Rome is just as much in power over the President of the United States as he was over Charlemagne, the first potentate that the Pope crowned king of the Holy Roman Empire. Now, I know that's going to sound absolutely absurd to people. I'm used to it. But I say it once again. The Pope of Rome is head over the kings of the earth. The Bible says so. If this is not true, then the Bible is a liar. He reigneth over the kings of the earth. And I say without apology, equivocation, or hesitation, that the Pope of Rome is just as much head and shoulders in control of the President of the United States, no matter who he is, than he was over the kings of Europe during the heydays of the Dark Ages. And that's just the way it is. The papacy, everybody thinks, well, who are you going to vote for this year? As if you have a choice. And he said, what do you mean we don't have a choice? We all got a choice. It's our patriotic duty to go and pull the lever for the Democrats or the Republicans. Let me tell you something. You don't get to pick the candidates. You only get to select between two of those that have finally run the gauntlet and remain standing. Guess who picks all the candidates? The Council on Foreign Relations, the Papacy, gets to pick all the candidates. And you just dutifully go to the polls just to make it all look legitimate. I wish I could convince the American people to just stay home from a presidential election. Don't even go. Gas is expensive. Your time is worth a lot. You're being taxed to death. You shouldn't have any loyalty to this government anyway. Just stay home and find out what happens. There'll be a president sitting in the Oval Office the next morning, whether you vote or not. That's just how phony the entire electoral process is in this country. You're simply the icing on the cake when you go to the polls to vote on a presidential election. They already know who's going to win because they pick the candidates. They don't give a rat's hoot whether you vote for a Republican or a Democrat. They're going to get their pick because they picked them all. They vetted them all. They've informed them all that if they defy the papacy, they will be JFK'd. And there's no end of volunteers of both Democrats and Republicans that would love to sit in the Oval Office and say yes or no, sir, to the Pope. The President of the United States is just a puppet on the string. He's just the front man. He's just the yes man. He's just the public persona of the presidency. The real people who run Washington, D.C. don't even live in this country. The people who run the kings of the earth are given to us in Scripture. That city, that great city which reigneth over the kings of the earth. It's the truth. God said it. I believe it. Still talking about the scarlet and purple, the scarlet harlot of Revelation chapter 13, as the heading of this page says, a scarlet-clad woman on a scarlet-colored beast. We all know the woman represents a church, and she loves scarlet, red. Like the blood of the prophets and the saints and all the slain of the earth. Yes, and the counterpart to that is Christ, who wears a vesture dipped in blood. There's a reason why the cardinals wear scarlet, and there's a reason why Jesus will return in a vesture dipped in blood, but not in the blood of the saints like the Roman Catholic Church, but in the blood of the wicked. Jesus will give us the vengeance. He said, "Vengeance is mine, saith the Lord, I will repay." And those who have killed the saints for the last 2 millennia, those who have trodden over the saints of Almighty God, will be avenged at His hand. Praise His holy name. The cardinals wear scarlet, their favorite color, betraying her true identity. Even the popes, when they die, must wear the scarlet color. And here's a picture of Pope Paul II, John Paul II, lying in state, waiting for the flames of hell to reach up and consume him, dressed in scarlet color. They hold to their scarlet truth even in death. And the author says there, reader, her true colors, purple and scarlet. Revelation chapter 17, verse 4, fulfilled. Thus the scarlet-dressed woman of Revelation 17, with the name Mystery Babylon on her forehead, is a church having great pomp, splendor, wealth, and power. This church, quote, affects the style and title of our Holy Mother, the Church, unquote. But her true name is given in Revelation chapter 17 as, quote, Mystery, Babylon the Great, the mother of harlots, unquote. In the day of the prophet John, the beloved disciple of Jesus who saw the vision on the Isle of Patmos, she was called Mystery Babylon. Today she goeth by the name of Roman Catholic. Indeed, quote, that Rome is before us is proved by the mention of the scarlet color of imperial and papal Rome, by the topographical situation on the 7 hills, by the reference to the golden cup, which is traced on medals of the popes with the self-condemning inscription, Sed it super universum, by the fact that when John wrote Revelation, the city of Rome was the mistress of the world and known to all as the New Babylon. By the fact that the false and corrupt system of Romanism has its capital in Rome, and by the fact that her official laws require her bishops, cardinals, and popes to wear blood-empurpled skirts, which we shall see is most befitting of a church that has shed so much of the blood of the martyrs of Jesus Christ. Yet, because I know that some may yet feel unconvinced by this analysis, and since I do not wish to compel reluctant assent to this interpretation, I invite the reader to come with me as I search for other proofs elsewhere, through which we may put an end to the matter. Quote, by clear and irrefragable demonstration, unquote, to use the expression of Joseph Mead in his Clavis Apocalyptica of 1833. What the author's just told you is he is going to bury the Roman Catholic Church in so much incriminating evidence throughout this book that she'll never be able to lie her way out of it. No way in the world to refute all the mountains and mountains of evidence that mark her as the Church of Antichrist. This is not hyperbole or Roman Catholic, anti-Roman Catholic bigotry or Protestant hatred or any such thing. This is God's holy book, compared with history and visible, demonstrable, researchable evidence. evidence that spans 2 millennia. It cannot be refuted. Now, chapter 19 is entitled Exposed Again, 1,260 years of world domination. The author says, for the purpose of identification, the apocalyptical calendar tells us the exact duration of the first period of the reign of Antichrist and her best vicar and friend. This time period is given in the book of Daniel, chapter 12, verse 7, as, quote, time, times, and a half a time, unquote, which we will prove is equal to 3.5 years, or 1,260 prophetic, not literal, but prophetic days. These are literal years. And in Revelation chapter 12, in the 6th and 14th verses, the same period is given again as 1,260 quote-unquote days. Now, using the well-known principle of interpreting Bible prophecy, where a day stands for a year, and simply go to Ezekiel chapter 4, verse 6 to see this for yourself, this 3.5 year period, 3.5 times, a time times or dividing of time, or 1,260 day period would then equal 1,260 literal years. This is the period of Roman Catholic domination. But does history concur with us that the Catholic Church ruled uninterrupted for 1,260 long years? Accuracy of prophecy, the Bible and history aligns. Again, we reiterate, as we do frequently on this program, that Bible prophecy is confirmed only in history. If you can't see its confirmation in history, then you can't be guaranteed the Bible prophecy is fulfilled. So when studying prophecy, you have to have a history book in front of you. That's all there is to it. And where are Americans the most weak? History. But not P.D. Stewart, and he's gonna confirm Bible prophecy fulfillment in history. This is extremely important information. Now, he says, lest any should be inclined to doubt whether these old visions in the book of Daniel are foundations upon which one can safely fix his or her foot in the manner I have asserted, and from thence, as from a watchtower, measure the rest of history. Let such a one consider that hundreds of years before the rise of Rome, the prophet Daniel had accurately predicted the sequence of the 4 world powers, and I'll just voluntarily interject the word Gentile powers, stretching from his time, Daniel's time, under the Babylonian Empire, which was a Gentile empire, to the Roman Empire. Daniel chapter 7 records the rise of 4 great beasts, and says in verse 17, quote, listen carefully, these great beasts, which are 4 kings which shall arise out of the earth. Verse 23. Continues, he said, the 4th beast shall be the 4th kingdom upon the earth. Unquote. Now, I might be jumping ahead a little bit, but you've heard us before. Those 4 kingdoms were specifically depicted in that vision. They were the Babylonian Empire, the Medo-Persian Empire, the Greek Empire, and the 4th and final. That's right, there's not a 5th for the Jews. There's not a 5th or a 6th or a 7th. There's only going to be 4 Gentile empires in the world, each rising successively upon the ruins of the next, from the Babylonian captivity, from the Babylonian Empire to the 4th and final, the Roman Empire. And don't you know, and this is what I get out of all the things that I talk about on amateur radio, this is the one that gets the most positive response. This is the one where somebody will key up the microphone and say, thank you, thank you, thank you. Now I finally understand. It's when they realize that Daniel was simply forecasting history. It was perfectly fulfilled. It's not debatable. Everybody agrees that it was the Babylonian, then the Medo-Persian, then the Grecian, and fourth and finally, the Roman Empire. And what is most startling to these people, what they are most thankful in understanding, finally, is that that fourth and final empire, that Roman Empire, was in power long before Christ was born. 146 some odd years before Christ was born. And that same Roman Empire that was in power at the time of Christ's first advent, when he walked the streets of Jerusalem, that same Roman Empire will rule uninterrupted until Christ's return. And when that finally soaks into people, they are so thankful, because all of a sudden now they know who rules this world. And nobody will ever be able to strip them of that knowledge, because they got it from the Bible. And they're so appreciative to realize that even today the popes are just as powerful over the kings of the earth than they ever were. And we can forget all and every talk about a British Empire or a Japanese Empire. Those are just man-made distractions to get us away from this perfect understanding from the Bible. Rome has been in control since before Christ and will remain in control of the world, the last, fourth, and final Gentile world empire until Christ returns. There's no getting around it. And that is such a breath of fresh air to people who are seeking the truth and who have been deceived in the churches, that they can't find words to even express their gratitude. And it so thrills my heart to hear somebody key up on the radio when I talk about this, and they repeat, "Thank you, thank you, thank you." I know exactly what they're talking about, because I had the same thanks when it finally soaked into my thick head what the Bible was truly telling us. And thank God for Nicholas Arthur. He helped me understand this. I think I understood it, but not to the depth, not to the degree that I do now. And it has really helped me. It has really helped me understand history. It even helps me understand current events. Critical piece of information. He says, lest any should be inclined to doubt whether these old visions in the book of Daniel are foundations upon which one can safely fix his or her foot, in the manner I have asserted, and from thence, as from a watchtower, measure the rest of history, let such a one consider that hundreds of years before the rise of Rome, the prophet Daniel had accurately predicted the sequence of the four Gentile world powers stretching from his time under the Babylonian Empire to the Empire of Rome. Daniel chapter 7 records the rise of four great beasts and says in verse 17, "These great beasts which are four kings which shall rise out of the earth." Thus he said, the fourth beast shall be the fourth, and I'll add the words final, kingdom upon the earth. The connection between these visions and the whole dynastic history of ancient times is ancient times to fairly modern years is set forth in the, quote, sacred calendar and the great almanac of prophecy, says the illustrious Joseph Mead. The great almanac of prophecy has been confirmed by history, the latter of which tells us that the Babylonian Empire, founded by Belus, which is just another name for Nimrod. This is where we get the word Baal or Bel of the Bible. This is a direct reference to Nimrod. And the author even confirms, he said, Belus, believed to be the Nimrod of Holy Writ, and counting only from the time of Nebuchadnezzar, existed from 606 BC until about 538 BC, a period of 207 years, when it fell, as Daniel prophesied, to the Medes and the Persians. The Medo-Persian Empire existed from 538 BC until 331 BC. The third kingdom of Daniel 7, quote, answering to the belly and the thighs of brass of the image, and to the third beast like a leopard, is that of the Macedonian or the Grecian Empire under Alexander and his successors, unquote, with its 4 divisions, and which existed from 331 BC until 168 BC, a period of 163 years, which ended with the overthrow and subduing of both Greece and Carthage in the decisive battle of Pydna against the Greek king Perseus. This war entirely broke the power of the ancient kingdom of the Macedonians, with the final demise coming some years later in 146 BC, when Greece was reduced to the form of a Roman province. There's your fourth and final empire, finally conquering the Grecian Empire in 146 BC, 146 years before the birth of Christ, and reducing the Grecian Empire, the third empire, into a simple Roman province. Bible prophecy fulfilled, recognized in history. Quote, from thenceforth, Rome never again encountered an enemy worthy to be pitted against her, unquote. This fourth empire, Rome of the Caesars, existed from 146 BC until the close of the reign of the Roman Emperor Romulus Augustulus in August 476 AD, after which the power of the Roman Empire evolved into the power of the Roman Catholic Church. Okay? We have a bit of a transformation from pagan Rome, from Caesarean Rome, from imperial Rome, to the Holy Roman Empire and the rise of Antichrist, the Papacy. When the Caesars of the old pagan Roman Empire left their seat and their authority to the Bishop of Rome, the Pope, we have the rise of Antichrist. And the evidence that this author is going to present is inarguable. Quote, after this I saw in the night visions, and behold, a fourth beast, dreadful and terrible and strong exceedingly, and it had great iron teeth. It devoured and brake in pieces and stamped the residue with the feet of it. And it was diverse from all the beasts that were before it. And it had 10 horns. Daniel chapter 7, verse 7. Coldheart writes, in fulfillment of this prophecy, quote, the iron monarchy of Rome overthrew Greece and became greater than all those before it. Rome crushed the world under her feet and ruled with absolute power, unquote. That again from John F. Coldheart in the work entitled What I Saw in Rome, published 1958, chapter 3. The very words. And it says, then came the power of the papacy, or popes, which was not a new world power, but a continuation of the Fourth Roman Empire in a religious form. For said Daniel, quote, the fourth beast had 10 horns, unquote, Daniel 7:7, and he continued, quote, I considered the 10 horns, and behold, there came up among them another little horn, before whom 3 of the first horns were plucked up by the roots. And behold, in this horn were eyes, like the eyes of a man, and a mouth speaking great things, unquote, Daniel 7:8. Note carefully that this little horn, which was to uproot 3 horns in its rise to prominence, was not to be a stranger to the 10 horns, or powers, which we would call nations today, that came out of the head of the fourth beast, but rather it rose up from among them. All historians acknowledge that the ascendancy of the popes began in 508 AD, when King Clovis of the Salian or Merovingian Franks, later to become known as France, won the decisive battle in the Catholic and Arian religious war, thereby settling the dispute in favor of the Catholics. But that their temporal reign officially began in the year 538 AD, when Roman Emperor Justinian subdued the last of the three kingdoms, or the horns, that opposed the rise of the papacy. Yes, that's right. The three horns were taken up by the roots and replaced by the little horn. This is confirmed in history. This is not speculation. This is confirmed in history. Bible prophecy fulfilled. And it says, it was at this time that the Roman Catholicism was made the state religion, and all other forms of worship were forbidden in Christendom. Dr. Somervell writes, quote, Justinian enriched himself with the property of all the heretics, that is, non-Catholics, and published edicts in 538 AD, compelling all to join the Catholic Church in 90 days or leave the empire, and he confiscated all their goods. Unquote. And that's what Rome has always done to pagans. Convert or die. If you don't convert, you will be killed or exiled, and we will gobble up your property. And that's the age-old history of Rome. That's why she's so wealthy today. The roots of the wealth of the Roman Catholic Church is laying upon the confiscation of the wealth and property of non-Catholics who would not bend the knee to the biblical Antichrist. And we're going to see the repeat of this right here in this nation when the Roman Catholic Church rises to supreme and controlling power in this country. And there's no pretense anymore that that America is going to be Roman Catholic. This is what's going to happen. You're either going to have to subscribe to this new world order, or you're going to be killed, and your property is going to be confiscated. And I believe the mechanisms for this is already in place in this country. Already in place. The New World Order is a reality. It's already up and running. They just haven't told us yet. And I don't mean to scare anybody, but this is the real deal. And we need to be prepared spiritually. And we need to warn our brothers and sisters about this. Repudiate the ecumenical movement. Go back to Christ. Back to the Bible. And have no king in your life but Jesus.